Hey guys, Tyrip here, and today I'm going to be showing you which is better, chasing down a retreating squad or remaining stationary to remove moving accuracy penalties for a variety of different units. So if you were unaware, infantry do significantly less damage firing whilst on the move compared to stationary. Here we have a Grenadier Kar98K rifle, and at point blank range it does 5.98 damage per second, but at the same range whilst on the move it is 2.84, so that's less than half the amount of damage that it is stationary. Of course, firing whilst on the move means you'll be able to keep up with the squad and get significantly more shots off. So then the question becomes, are the firing on the move penalties so high that running and gunning is just not worth it? And so to test this for a stationary squad, I set up a fresh squad so that they wouldn't have to reload along a sandbag, so that spacing would remain close to similar between tests, and retreated a squad past them. And then I changed the stationary squad to enemy just as the retreating squad is running past, so the retreating squad does not take damage on approach as well as on exit. For the run and gun test, I moved the attacking squad along this line and retreated the squad along the same line. Despite this, there were some slight pathfinding differences between the two, but I made sure that the retreating squad was never blocked by the attacking squad. And then I checked the health of the retreating squad using the display table function in Cheat Commands mod. So now looking at the results for this, starting out with the bolt action rifles, we have a Grenadier shooting at Conscripts and then Conscripts shooting at Grenadiers. Ran each test 10 times, both stationary and chasing, and as a result from that, as you can see here, the average damage the squad took from stationary was 44.8, compared to when getting chased down was 56. So there does appear to be an advantage to chasing down a squad even when using bolt action rifles, which have some of the higher penalties when firing on the move. Though this is not a significant amount of damage. Grenadiers do 16 damage per hit, so this is like less than one bullet worth of damage extra. This could maybe come down to my testing methodology, maybe a slight error there. But yeah, that is 25% extra damage, but yeah, not a significant amount of damage overall. Then moving on to Conscripts shooting at Grenadiers. Stationary, they did 20.4 damage. Chasing, they did 33.6. Conscripts do 12 damage, so this is more than one extra bullet landing worth of damage, and that's 65% more damage. So this one does appear to be a little bit more significant in terms of differentials, but overall, not a huge amount, one extra bullet landing. And this was actually a little bit surprising that proportionally it did more, because if we take a look down here, Grenadiers do 47% roughly of their moving damage, and Conscripts actually slightly worse, both near and far. So Conscripts seem to be slightly worse on the move compared to Grenadiers, but in this testing they did proportionally better on the move compared to stationary, which was a little bit surprising. The way that this looked in testing is that the stationary squad would be able to get 2 volleys of shots off before the retreating squad got out of range. This was the same for both Conscripts and Grenadiers. Next, I wanted to see if the cooldown bonuses that a vetted squad gets would allow them to get 3 shots off instead of 2. So now we're taking a look at the results for Vet 3 Grenadiers shooting at unvetted Conscripts. In 1 out of the 10 tests, they did manage to get 3 volleys of shots off, suggesting we're right on the limits of their cooldown here, which means that in a real world scenario, I would expect the gap between stationary and chasing to kind of be lower than it is indicated in this testing. But we'll take a look at the results anyway, because average damage here, you have 44.8 for stationary and 70.4 for chasing. It's about 26 damage difference, so a larger difference here than what we saw earlier up here, which was a 25% compared to a 57% difference. But as I said, I think in real scenarios you'll be shooting at a squad as they're coming towards you as well as going away, so the cooldown timings won't line up quite so awkwardly or evenly, and maybe with my methodology, as the squad targets, there might be like a slight targeting delay, so maybe in real world scenarios you will be able to get 3 shots off consistently. But yeah, still once again, chasing does appear to be better than staying stationary. I also did a quick test with vetted conscripts, but seeing that they would also only be able to get 2 volleys of shots off, I decided to switch the test to use 7-man conscripts in cover. 7-man conscripts get a 30% bonus to their weapon cooldown when they're in cover, so will this finally tip the scales in favour of remaining stationary? Even with all those cooldown bonuses, conscripts still only get 2 volleys off on the retreating squad. So taking a look at the results from that test, vet 3 7-man conscripts shooting at unvetted grenadiers. We have stationary and with the cover bonus versus chasing with no cover bonus. So once again, chasing appears to be better, about 30 more damage here inflicted by the chasing squad, 43% more, which is slightly less than the other test, which was a 65%. But yeah, once again, chasing does appear to be better than remaining stationary. So in summary, for bolt action rifles, it does appear to be beneficial to chase down retreating squads, though not by a huge margin, and in real world performance, with the way that the cooldowns and reloads line up, I would expect it to be slightly less than the results I got here indicate. So now we're going to take a look at some different weapon types, starting out with the Panzer Grenadier MP44 or STG. Here's the DPS curve for that. Compare that to the Mosin from the conscript that we've kind of been using so far. Quite a lot different. So here are the results. Panzer Grenadier shooting at conscripts, trying to keep these things standardized between tests. Stationary and chasing, once again stationary, in this case about 40 damage behind chasing. So that's a pretty sizable amount. Panzer Grenadier bullets do 5 damage each. So that is a significant amount of bullets. We're not talking about like one bolt action bullet difference. We're talking about a significant amount of bullets difference between chasing and stationary. Chasing being quite a lot better. In this case, 54%. And now we're looking at Riflemen. They've got the semi-automatic Garands. Stationary 29.6, chasing 72. It's 140% more damage. I was not expecting this at all. I thought they would do maybe slightly worse than the assault rifle the Panzer Grenadiers have, but this is just leagues ahead. So much more damage chasing compared to stationary. Next up are LMG Obersoldaten. These are interesting because their rifles can get 3 shots off on a retreating squad, and the LMG can have trouble targeting a retreating squad because it has to rotate. They can also fire their light machine gun on the move, which other non-elite infantry squads are unable to. And here are the results for LMG Ober shooting at conscripts. Once again, chasing does appear to be ever so slightly superior in this case to staying stationary. And now shock troops shooting at grenadiers. I only did 5 tests in this case to save time because the results are so obvious. We have 47 damage here versus 125. That's a 166% bonus damage chasing compared to stationary. So for submachine guns, you definitely want to be running and gunning. So now we're looking at LMG Grenadiers shooting at conscripts retreating. And we come down here, we see the average damage comes to 42.8. Compare that to just regular Grenadiers shooting at conscripts. It's actually 44.8, so a slightly lower number here. I think the issue is that the LMG has trouble lining up a shot for bursts, and typically only got 1 burst off, sometimes 2, because of they had to switch angles to rotate. So if the squad is retreating in a dead straight line from your squad, then that's fine. The LMG probably will do more damage than just regular rifles, but in this case where I was trying to set up the test to avoid blocking and whatnot, it didn't quite meet the same standard. However, if we then multiply the chasing numbers, the old chasing numbers, by 0.75, since the LMG cannot fire on the move for grenadiers, that brings you to 42, so stationary is still superior. So when should you not run and gun? If it is too dangerous to leave cover, such as you're being shot at by an enemy squad. If you are likely to run into an enemy unit that you can't do anything about, such as a tank or an HMG. Or if by chasing you will put your own unit at risk of getting wiped on retreat by overextending. Types of units that are bad at running and gunning are those with a lot of slot weapons that do not fire on the move, such as guards rifle infantry. Also Tommies who do around a third of their DPS moving compared to stationary and rely on a cover bonus. For weapons that are only marginally better on the move, such as bolt action rifles, You may want to stop as your opponent crosses negative cover to try and maximize your damage on them during that period. So in summary, running and gunning appears to be good with the majority of units in the game, but don't blindly go for it. Make sure you're considering other factors such as slot weapons, your opponent's retreat path, and where your opponent's units are before going for it. A special thank you goes out to all my Patreon backers who make these more in-depth videos possible.